Cenk is polling in the Democratic presidential primaries at 0%, nothing. He has a greater likelihood of being elected the new king of France. And don't interrupt me, please.
Stop
but who is
lying.
surprised
Everything
that a
you said
man?
is a lie.
Who is surprised that a man the name of whose podcast is Young Turks, who perpetrated the Armenian genocide? The Young Turks is like calling your podcast the Young Nazis, the Young Gestapo. They killed 1.5 to 2 million Armenians between 1915 and 1918. The Armenian community has begged Cenk to change the name of his show. For the first half of his life, he was a complete Armenian genocide denier. Then he changed. Now he is a Holocaust denier because he is saying that the Jews are engaged in a genocide of the Palestinians. Now, weirdly wants to lie and say that the Jews are genocidaires. And don't try to cancel.
This guy is a full-blown bigot. He's one of the most racist people I have ever seen, does not value Palestinian lives at all. And everything he said about me is 100% untrue. I was vicious in my criticism of Bashar al-Assad. I value the Israeli life just as much as I value the Palestinian life. We're all human. Stop using these nonsense labels to kill each other. And all this guy wants to do is more murder of Palestinians.
Cenk, let me ask you.
When are you going to let them go?
All right, folks, well, we got to react today to what may be the most spectacular Cenk Uygur meltdown of all time. And that is, of course, saying a lot, because if you're familiar with the owner of the Young Turks, you will know that Cenk Uygur basically melts down on a daily basis, okay? Every conversation he does ends off with, well, I'm reasonable. We're trying to have a reasonable discussion here. So don't mistake what I am saying for hyperbole or clickbait. I think you will agree when we watch this that this may be the most spectacular Cenk Uygur meltdown we've seen, at least in the past few years, okay? So to contextualize what you're about to watch, the spectacle of live television that you are about to bear witness to, let me explain what's going on here. So he comes on the Piers Morgan show to debate the war in Israel. And this guest you see on the left is a very pro-Israel Jewish rabbi that basically starts off the discussion by labeling Cenk an anti-Semite. Now, to be clear, there are a lot of labels I would put on Cenk Uygur, but I don't think the term anti-Semite is accurate or something that should be thrown around, as it is way too much with basically no backing or reason, you know? So let me be clear about that. I don't agree with what the rabbi actually says here. I don't think it would be accurate to label Cenk an anti-Semite. I think that word is used way too often for people who just have dissenting views on this conflict. And so I would actually defend Cenk on that. However, what I will say is that Cenk's response to that opening accusation is 100% the wrong way to go about it, because he makes an absolute fool out of himself by just screaming on live television here, okay? And keep in mind, too, that Cenk is not just a political commentator anymore. As we know, he is a 2024, at least claims to be a 2024 Democrat presidential candidate. He makes the argument that he himself is more electable than Joe Biden and carries himself better than Joe Biden. And I think you will see that there's an argument to be made that Joe Biden, of all people, might have handled this situation better than Cenk Uygur handles it. This is all just the wrong way to do it. And so with that said, folks, yeah, I really don't agree with either person on this panel, but let's grab our popcorn and just witness the absolute spectacle of live television we're about to watch. Play the clip, Jamie. Play the clip. Here we go.
Cenk, let me start with you. Many people are calling for a ceasefire. Queen Rania of Jordan, Angelina Jolie, Arab leaders, and so on. I presume you would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they've murdered enough Palestinian civilians. And even Netanyahu, in an interview with ABC News, said, now that we're on the ground, we're finally pressuring Hamas on hostages. Oh, so the 7,000 bombs you dropped were totally useless and collective punishment, and your attempt to murder civilians on purpose as some sort of sick vengeance. So please stop the murders, ceasefire right now.
Okay, so before we get into the blood sports, just want to address that really quickly. My take on that is, I think the view of just saying, oh, let's just end this war by a ceasefire. You know, it's been a 1,000-year ethnic conflict, but if American commentators just go out and demand ceasefire, it's going to magically end the war. I think that's incredibly naive, right? I just think it's kind of a silly, oversimplified view of a very complicated conflict. Let's just call ceasefire right now. With that said, I do understand Cenk Uygur's argument about the hostages, right? Which is that maybe, you know, a bigger priority should have been placed on them. I do get that. And what I will say is that while it may be driven by a level of naivety, you know, I don't think that Cenk's view on that is driven by some type of anti-Semitism or deep hatred for Jews, right? It may be a naive view. I don't think it's an inherently hateful view to say you want to call for an end to the war, whatever. Watch what happens next. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Rabbi Shmuley, your response.
Cenk is polling in the Democratic presidential primaries at 0%, nothing. He has a greater likelihood of being elected the new king of France. And don't interrupt me, please. And the reason is that the American people are decent. They understand that Cenk's anti-Semitism, which he has voiced on your show repeatedly, calling Jews genocidaires, and this is the eve of Kristallnacht, the 85th anniversary of the start of the Holocaust. He would deny the Jewish people the only dignity left to us, that we were victims of genocide, and he would say that we are the Nazis, we are the Gestapo, for simply wanting to defend ourselves against the brutality and the savagery of Hamas. Cenk, you'll have your turn. Just show some decency. If you're not going to show it to my people, show it to me and show it to the viewers of the show. But who is surprised that a man? Who is surprised that a man the name of whose podcast is Young Turks, who perpetrated the Armenian genocide? The Young Turks.
That is true, by the way. You know, it's always been kind of a strange name, to say the least. That they call themselves the Young Turks. You know, the Young Turks were. The historical Young Turks in the Ottoman Empire were a bunch of murderous radicals, but, you know, I'm reasonable, right?
This is like calling your podcast the Young Nazis, the Young Gestapo. They killed 1.5 to 2 million Armenians between 1915 and 1918. The Armenian community has begged Cenk to change the name of his show. For the first half of his life, he was a complete Armenian genocide denier. Then he changed. Now he is a Holocaust denier because he is saying that the Jews are engaged in a genocide of the Palestinians. Now, which nation? How can there be 1.8 million Muslim Arab citizens?
Rabbi Shmuley,
okay.
I'm going to go to Cenk. You said some very strong things about Cenk. You can now respond, Cenk.
Yeah, you should never have this guy on air. Everything he said is a lie. I don't deny the Holocaust. That's insanity. And in terms of the Armenian genocide, there is a powerful analogy there. Why was it a genocide? And yes, it was a genocide. Why?
Which he like borderline denied back in the day. And let's just remember that.
Because they moved and displaced so many people and killed civilians on the way. What is Israel doing? Moving and displacing millions of people and killing innocent civilians. It is the exact definition of a genocide. So I think the Jewish people are an amazing people, and their culture is beautiful, and I don't tolerate any anti-Semitism. But I think that the occupation is decaying the moral core of Israel. How long are you going to oppress these people?
But Cenk,
and I know this guy, all he wants to do is an ad hominem attack. He's a liar. And you could tell exactly what kind of indecent human being he is. But the main reason he's doing it is to avoid the topic. When are you going to stop murdering Palestinians and cheerleading it?
Okay.
If you're talking about genocide, you're the one now doing the genocide.
May I respond?
He's just such a character. You're not being reasonable.
Yes, go ahead, more lies. Go ahead.
You know, I've spent my life debating people.
He's like
whenever someone starts using personal names and screaming like a lunatic, they're losing the debate. Let me remain
You're
factual.
the one who made up things.
The Palestinians, you don't care about Arab children. You are a Jew hater, defined as someone who only wants to lie and say that the Jews are genocidaires. And don't try to cancel me and say that I shouldn't be on. You're not a producer of this show. Because you are ignorant of the facts and ignorant of the history does not mean that you can cancel my voice.
Cenk, your response.
Okay, so first of all, you
bigot! You racist!
This guy is a full-blown bigot. He's one of the most racist people I have ever seen, does not value Palestinian lives at all.
What?
And everything he said about me is 100% untrue. I was vicious in my criticism of Bashar al-Assad. I have criticized Hamas over and over again, and I think what they did in the attack against Israel was reprehensible. But for God's sake, how long are you going to occupy these people? For me, the idea of Israelis and Palestinians or Muslims or Jews being different is absurd. Those are just stupid labels that we put on people. They're all human beings. I value the Israeli life just as much as I value the Palestinian life. We're all human. Stop using these
Cenk, let me ask you a
kill
question.
each other.
Cenk,
all this guy wants to do is more murder of Palestinians.
Cenk, let me ask
when
you.
are you going to let them go?
Cenk, let me ask you a question. You mentioned genocide.
Again, folks, I don't have much to say about the debate itself because it's kind of just two ridiculous people yelling at each other. But is that how a presidential candidate handles themselves? Is this what Joe Biden fears? Right? I don't think that's true.
Aside there, what Hamas is actually in its charter dedicated to doing is the purest personification of genocide. Well, it is. They want to see the eradication of Israel, and they proved on October the 7th they will kill as many Jews as they can possibly get their hands on. So that is pure genocide. What Israel is doing in return, I don't think meets the category of genocide. Right, because they don't want to get rid of every Palestinian. They don't want to kill every Palestinian.
No,
they want to kill every Hamas terrorist. Now, there are legitimate question marks about how they're going about this and about the civilian casualties. But there is a moral distinction between what Hamas is dedicated to doing and what Israel is dedicated to doing, isn't there?
No. First of all, Hamas is a bunch of idiots. They should take that stuff out of their charter. All it does is hurt the Palestinian cause.
I agree.
There's no call for it. It's dumb and it's immoral. But
what did he do to his
Hamas
forehead?
claims that they would like to do these things, and from time to time they do these attacks that are horrible and they should never do. But Israel actually kills Palestinians, actually occupies Palestine, actually denies the Palestinians a state. So there's this absurd talk of like, oh, if Hamas was super powerful, they might deny Israel its existence. Except Israel does exist. And the Palestinian state does not exist because Israel is blocking their state. So stop using, and I'm not saying to you, Piers, but this propaganda, hold on.
Cenk, you and I.
This guy's gonna burst a blood vessel, which is unfortunate, YouTube. I don't want him to, but look at his eye. His eye is contracting because his blood vessels are like tightening so much with Cenk rage. What is going on, you dude?
That is
the Palestinians are causing their deaths, but it is ruining. It is causing the moral decay of Israel.
Blood libel. This is a blood libel against the Jewish people.
Stop
you may as well just say that we drink the blood of Christian children in our mouths.
Reasonable.
Cenk, you are guilty of a blood libel on the eve of Kristallnacht. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I'm going to call.
It is a blood libel. Change the name of your show away from Young Turks who are genocidaires who killed 1 million Armenians.
I'm going to try and wrestle things back to the host here and call a ceasefire for now. It's been a fascinating debate. Very passionate on both sides.
Yeah, so fascinating. Right?
I appreciate you both agreeing to debate each other. I think that's important in this situation. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This guy's ruining. There's tremendous anti-Semitism in the world. By crying wolf, he's actually hurting the Jewish cause tremendously.
From people like you.
Okay, you're a bigot.
Like
Stop killing Palestinians, you bigot.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
All right, folks. So what did we think? What did we think about the whatever that was we just witnessed? So again, like I said, do I agree that Cenk Uygur is an anti-Semite? Absolutely not. I actually agree with his last point that, you shouldn't just be throwing around that word just because you disagree with someone on an issue of war or foreign policy or whatever. But it didn't help Cenk Uygur's case to make a complete spectacle out of himself and become so enraged. The guy, like, I was worried for him. I was like, he might have a stroke on live television. I mean, that was impressive. So, again, I don't know what that was. Okay. I'm sure Piers Morgan enjoyed it. It's got to be the easiest 16 minutes of his life. He just has to sit there. He doesn't have to, he just kind of, just lets them fight and just kind of watches. It's probably pretty fun for him. But with that said, folks, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Remember to be reasonable. You got to be reasonable. And until next time, Alpha Moves Only. God bless. Have a very good day and peace.